Now, ever wondered how the C-suite is navigating the complex landscape of generative AI and how they are turning data into smart actions and shaping the future of your enterprise? Now, stay tuned as we unravel these questions with a leading domain expert in the field, Sean Stauth, and he's the Global Director AI and ML at Qlik. Welcome, Sean.
Well, it's great to be here, Ronald. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure of having you as a leading expert in the field. Now, let's kick things off with a pulse check. Now, what are you hearing from the tech executives about their journeys into the generative AI? And are they excited about it? Are they cautious, or maybe a mix of both?
They're so excited right now. I've had the opportunity over the last 6 months to go all around the US and Europe and hear from business leaders and tech leaders on what they're thinking about generative AI. And I'll tell you, I have not heard this much excitement in a long time around technology. Even the business leaders that were, focused typically on business things, generative AI has our attention. And, I think that they wouldn't necessarily put it this way, but when it comes down to it with generative AI, it's all about economics. The economics of generative AI are just super compelling. It allows businesses to accelerate tasks. I'm talking high value tasks that require a lot of creativity, skill, and iteration. Things like engineering, design, and law, and all these tasks have high economic weight. And so there's a lot of excitement and frankly apprehension around how they can take this technology and really start accelerating and competing in their workforce.
And now let's dive deeper into generative AI. Now, generative AI is a buzzword that's capturing a lot of attention right now. But in your opinion, now, where do you see most valuable use cases of generative AI emerging in the enterprise in the near future?
That's such a fantastic question. And I think that that's one of the biggest questions that we field. I spend so much of my time when I'm working with customers in the field talking about value proposition around AI. And what that really comes down to is, for a lot of executives, is around hard dollars. They invest in technology because they want a return. And so it really starts with economics. And as I mentioned, this means high value tasks. And so when we think about prioritizing, what are those use cases? For an organization, I think it's a couple of things. The first is, what do they really need to do to move the needle in their business? The nature of business hasn't changed. Businesses still need to attract customers. They still need to sustain margin. They still need to compete and, within their markets and make sure that they have a robust supply chain. And so what we're really looking at is ways in which we can use generative AI to help save time, create operational efficiencies, and, opportunities for revenue capture. One of the areas that we are focusing on the most is around things like accelerating the technology development process, or in research and development, the software development workflows. So one example is around, let's call it data preparation and a lot of the data tasks, because this is a challenging task. Every organization needs it, and yet it takes an enormous amount of work. And so we can use generative AI to help data engineers and business leaders basically gain the data that they need, help sort it, help do a lot of preparation, and at the same time saving enormous amounts of time and energy. Other areas that are the companies we're talking to are using this right now are in software engineering, essentially having an assistant that can help build the scaffolding of a lot of the code that they need to accelerate that process. But then, of course, it still requires a skilled hand to be able to vet and make sure that is building things in the right direction.
Now, you were talking about data tasks, data preparation, and data is now being referred to as the new fuel for digital transformation. But it's not just about having the data, it's about using it. Now, how can a robust data strategy and governance support the enterprise in effectively implementing generative AI?
Oh, it is so crucial, because when we think about it, we're talking about using AI to help with a lot of the core decision-making processes across an organization. And unless you actually have a foundational data strategy and the governance necessary across all your data assets, both internal and external, you could be in a position where you don't have trust in your decision making. And when we're talking to executives, trust is actually one of the biggest keys and also one of the biggest concerns around generative AI. They want to be able to trust how every decision was made. If you think about it, it's no different than having a skilled analyst that's working for you in an organization. If they come to you with some recommendations or some work products about a decision, you want to be able to check their work. How did they get to that answer? Where did the information come from? And not just from the decision itself or the algorithm, what algorithms the generative AI is using, but also where did they get that information? Where did it come from? And how trustworthy are those sources? And so we see it's a foundational need for organizations to have, good governance practices, data trust, data lineage, and as you mentioned, overall data strategy before they embark on a generative AI journey.
Yeah, I totally agree. One last question. I think you're the right person to ask because you travel all around the world right now and talking to enterprises about it. Now, many enterprises are eager to jump on the AI bandwagon, but they're often held back by all kinds of constraints. Now, what are some of the attainable and meaningful steps that enterprises have to take right now to leverage AI for their business?
I think that's probably one of the biggest questions that I hear from a lot of executives, because all the organizations we talk to are in a different path on the journey. Some of the organizations are very large, and so they'll have already mature data science departments and machine learning capabilities, and they're in a position to start actually experimenting with the foundation models, understanding what kind of generative AI approach that they will need. Do they want to have something internal that is able to take advantage of a lot of their internal data assets? Or are they how do they actually use a shared service or a public service, something like OpenAI is using? But really, when it comes down to it, it's all really developing a clear understanding of how AI can help. What we don't recommend is just jumping into the technology and creating a lot of investment risk without clear, defined goals in mind. And so that is true of traditional technology. That was true of cloud computing. That's also true with generative AI. We also recommend to look at the bigger picture as well in terms of the whole suite of AI technologies. Generative AI is a newer AI technology we think is very important, but AI technologies have been around for a long time. What about predictive AI and machine learning? How can they use that effectively to better predict aspects about their business, understand key drivers, and ultimately create more opportunities for revenue capture, risk reductions, and cost savings in their organization?
Thank you, Sean, for incredible, helpful insights. Thank you for shedding your light on how tech executives can navigating the generative AI landscape and also the promising avenues for its application. And also, of course, the foundational role of data and the data strategy. Now, for the audience, thank you for watching and we look forward to seeing you next time.